Hello, everyone, and welcome to Casual Experts Only, now part of the Cultured Nerd Podcast Network. Today, I am joined by my two friends, Zach and Bryce.
Hello.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, which wrapped up a couple weeks ago now. Before we start talking about Mandalorian Season 3, there is some newish, I think this came out just yesterday, I guess. Temuera Morrison talked to the Independent, I think, and he basically talked about the Book of Boba Fett and how the Mandalorian kind of stole his show. So he was actually talking to comicbook.com. This was in an interview with comicbook.com, and he said, I was supposed to be in the Mandalorian season 3, but nobody rang me, so I guess he was told or expected to be in the third season and wasn't. And yeah, he said, I was waiting for the phone call in New Zealand, waiting and wanting to give up. Then he said, they asked him about Pedro Pascal's appearance in the Book of Boba Fett as the Mandalorian, and he said, well, that Mando guy stole a few chapters of my book. I'm sure this guy ruining my show, but I couldn't say anything. I'm not the writer, so I have to bear it, I guess. So thought that was kind of interesting, and I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Though those episodes were good, it was they easily could have just been in season 3 of The Mandalorian. I'm not really sure why they had to take up 2 whole episodes of the Book of Boba Fett just to have the Mandalorian get some extra stuff. So I can totally see why he'd be upset about that. And I was kind of expecting him to be in season 3. So I mean, I feel like considering Mandalorian was in 3 whole episodes of his show, I feel like he could have at least been in 1 episode of season 3. So I don't know what happened there, but he better be in the frickin' movie they're doing with the Dave Filoni movie. If he's not, I'm gonna be pissed.
Just forget about him again.
Yeah, right. They're that's right. That kind of everybody's favorite for the last 3 decades. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about him. No, but anyway, let's talk about The Mandalorian season 3. So Zach, what were your overall thoughts of this season?
Overall thoughts, I think the beginning half of the season was a little weak compared to the last 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Because season 1 started off really strong, as well as season 2.
Yeah.
And season 2 ended really strong. But I just think overall half of it was very just drawn out and filler, and then the rest was just the actual story that we wanted.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Yeah. What did you think, Bryce?
I mostly agree
with
what Zach said. I definitely stronger in the second half. Definitely going off on adventures that we don't entirely care about. And not having a bigger bad. I get bringing Gideon back, but I mean, at the same time,
Yeah, I feel considering he's been the main villain for literally every season, it felt a little bit, lazy to just have him come back. Granted, he is kind of, he was kind of in his final form or whatever you want to call it, and I always love seeing, Giancarlo Esposito, in the role. But if he shows up again, I'm gonna be pretty mad just because that's kind of lazy, just be like, oh, he keeps coming back,
I don't mind his character at all.
No, I like his character, and he's a cool villain. He's kind of more like a gentleman, villain. He's not a Palpatine kind of guy. He seems more like an aristocrat almost, even though he's an Imperial, but. Which a lot of Imperials kind of are, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even Grand Moff Tarkin was very much like an aristocrat type person. But yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like the first half set up a lot of stuff that either didn't really pay off, or they did finish what they were, what they introduced. It just wasn't that great,
I agree.
I think the last there were some awesome stuff in this season, and I think the last 2 episodes were really cool. But yeah, overall it was just kind of all over the place, and I feel like there wasn't as interesting a story, I guess.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
I am glad that they didn't drag out Mando redeeming himself or whatever for the whole season. I feel like that would have been really boring.
I didn't expect it so early on.
Yeah.
What was it? It was the first or second episode. I think it was the second episode.
I think it was the
Second
second. Yeah. Which, speaking of episodes, we're going to break down just kind of every episode, starting with the first one. So first one is called The Apostate. I know you you sent in our group chat, Zach, that you were thoroughly disappointed with that episode. You were very mad.
Yeah. Just one thing I do want to say about going back to Moff Gideon for a second.
Yeah.
If he does come back, we need a line that's just like somehow Moff Gideon returns.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, like they introduced the whole cloning thing, so they probably could just lean on that like a crush, like, well, it's actually a clone of him and he's force sensitive now. But then I feel like you would have to like bring in like Ahsoka or somebody to actually be able to fight him if he's force sensitive.
Yeah. So yes, episode 1 I was pretty disappointed by, and that was because if you look at the other season premieres of The Mandalorian, they were pretty good. Like season 2 started with Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, and season one beginning was just all about bounty hunting and finding Grogu. So that was really cool because at the end of the episode we realized there was another Yoda species.
Right.
But with this episode, I feel like they put in the pirates as just like, I guess, an afterthought. There was no Hondo Onaka either. So if you're gonna be putting pirates in live action.
Yeah, that's fair.
You gotta have Hondo, in my opinion.
He doesn't really like, he hasn't like died canonically or anything, has he?
He's still around.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Since Galaxy's Edge is canon, he's still alive by the time of the Resistance. So
okay.
Yeah. So I thought I didn't really like the effects that they did a lot of practical effects, which I appreciate, but the main pirate that was on the ground, I don't remember what his name was, but he looked kind of off. Like something about him just wasn't right. Like it just seemed very artificial and like not like supernatural as it should be. It's like when Grogu flips.
Yeah, that's like one of the main things where it's like, I feel like the practical effects, maybe they didn't have to adhere to it in every shot, you know, because it does just sort of look like they just sort of like throw the puppet up in the air. Like I feel like they could have like gotten away with some CGI there and it would have looked better.
Yeah, true. And I just honestly, like talking about the pirates, I think like Gorian Shard was just kind of like have you ever heard of him before? I haven't.
No, I think he's an original to the series.
Yeah, so
you mean like the swamp looking dude?
Yeah, the man thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt like he had no bearing on the story other than to be like, "Damn you, Mandalorian!" Like that was just kind of it.
Like he returns later, but he ends up just kind of being, Moff Gideon's puppet.
Yeah, and he's only in for 2 whole episodes. The first episode, we just see him get mad, and then the second episode he's in, we just see him die.
He just gets killed. Yeah, that's fair.
Felt like side quests when all we care about is main story, especially for like an 8 episode season. Like I feel like I would have been totally okay with some of these episodes had we had 12, 15 episodes or whatever.
Yeah. I am starting to feel like some of these shows should be a little longer. Like even 10 episodes would have been better. Like I feel like they're kind of it feels by the end of the season they're kind of rushing, to finish it.
No, that's mostly what it felt like to me. It's just like it's kind of like a side questing thing. Like, we got some loose ends to tie up. We got to do this and finish this, and then add subplots that we're not going to do stuff with. I kind
of feel like 80% of this season was kind of a side quest. It almost felt like just a setup for season 4 in a way.
I agree.
But at the same time, we'll get to that when we get to episode 8. But at the same time, I feel like it also almost made like a potential ending to the series when it's clear they're not going to,
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, any more thoughts on episode 1? There wasn't a whole lot to
IG.
Yeah, right. IG. That was interesting, and it felt like it took them forever to actually pay that off.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I thought it was just gonna go nowhere after the second episode.
I
It was
kind of
just
did
like, oh,
too.
I was like, okay, well, that was kind of lame.
Yeah,
The
there's
whole
like,
episode dedicated to not a whole episode, but you know what I mean?
yeah, let's bring him back, but not really.
Yes, it's psych.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my only gripe in the first, like, my
Sure.
major gripe.
Yeah, like I mean, it was like all right. It was entertaining, I guess, but it wasn't like as good as the other season premieres.
Sure.
That's
I like the
sure.
Pirates as characters, but I think I agree with Zach.
Yeah,
they shouldn't have been like primary.
And they were very like
Yeah.
one-dimensional, which
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, the Pirates. I mean, what do you expect?
right, which I think would have been better if they just had been in that one episode, but then they bring them back later, so it's just kind of like, but you also just
Yeah.
don't care.
And also,
Sorry, my
yeah,
bad.
so, no, you're good. Also, like Zach said, if it was Hondo, it would have been completely different.
Yeah,
Like if they would have used Pirates, yeah, all good,
Mhm.
but use Hondo.
right. I mean, it could have kind of been like a Cad Bane moment, from, not like as crazy, but like in the Book of Boba Fett when he shows up, that
Yeah.
could have been like really fun. Because
No.
like I feel like, though I do commend them this season for not relying on fan service for the most part, I feel like there weren't really any like very many like hype moments like the other seasons had. Like season
Sure.
2 especially had like Ahsoka, Boba Fett came back. There was like the
Yeah.
Darksaber, like all, like Bo-Katan, all that stuff. And even
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett had
Luke and Ahsoka.
Oh, right. Luke too. Yeah, and Cad Bane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like they definitely didn't do a whole lot with this, but I feel like the story wasn't good enough to warrant that. Like Andor didn't have any of that, but it's so well written that you don't care. I
Right.
feel like this season was like the writing was like okay, but it wasn't. There wasn't any like hype moments that like made up for it. But yeah, moving on to episode 2. So this is the one where Din Djarin gets captured by that weird creature when he's going
guy
to
was
try
so
and find
cool.
the mines.
I
of
loved
Mandalore.
that guy.
Yeah. he was weird. He was like a little dude in like this animatronic suit thing.
Yeah, he was like a little brain guy.
And he started roasting Din Djarin over his spit. And I felt like it was kind of funny that like Bo-Katan was basically just like depressed. She just like sitting on her throne, like nobody wants me as her leader. I'm just gonna sit here. And then Grogu's like, oh well, Din Djarin's gonna be eaten. She's like, oh shit, and she like and that kind of she springs into action, But it was very cool seeing her use the Darksaber because it's so clear she's way better at using it.
Yes, of course. I forget the race of the creatures, but the creatures when he first enters the cave on Mandalore.
I don't remember
the local.
Alamites. Those are
Alamites. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, dude, those guys were cool. I thought.
Yeah,
those.
They
were pretty cool too.
They were pretty cool. Again, this episode I felt like maybe the first 2 episodes could have been combined in like maybe like shorten some stuff. Like I feel like they were kind of long for how much happened in them.
Yeah.
But like it was a fine episode, and we did get to see Din Djarin, bathe in like the sacred pool or whatever.
One thing I will say about that part is once he falls into the water, if you look at all the plot synopsises and you read about him, he doesn't get pulled under. He falls under.
Yeah,
it's a drop off.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, but the thing is can he not swim?
Well, yeah, but the armor's kind of heavy, I think.
Yeah, but even Bo-Katan was able to go down with the jetpack and bring him back up.
That's true. Did he have his jetpack on?
I don't think he did.
That's probably why then.
He's
probably just sinking.
He probably just can't swim.
Yeah, he probably just can't swim. Well, yeah, and I mean that. Speaking of that, though, that was really cool to actually see a real life mythosaur.
Yes.
Which, I mean, as far as we knew, what?
I said didn't have a great payoff.
No, it didn't. But it was cool to see.
Cool.
But yeah, like it would have been cool to see it like out of the water, which we never got to see. But maybe we'll see more of that in season 4. But it's cool to know that they actually are still alive, which up to this point we kind of thought they weren't at this point. At least the Mandalorians didn't.
Yeah.
And an honest. Yeah, right. Yeah. So that was cool. But episode 3. So this was an interesting one that I felt like didn't really go anywhere. Yeah, like I found it really interesting while I was watching it, and I felt like there was going to be more of a payoff throughout the season, but I feel like the only reason that it existed was just like to show that what's her face?
Kane.
Elia Kane,
Yeah.
was still bad though, and working with Moff
Yeah,
Gideon. It
I
seemed
think
like
it
that
just
was
showed some of the inner workings of the New Republic, and
yeah,
kind of
which
showed that, which I thought was all cool and
which
all,
I do, yeah, right, exactly. And I
but
love
like you said, payoff.
I love showing Coruscant. Like I love when they show Coruscant, especially after the prequel era.
Mhm.
That's always really cool. But like if they had more to it later on, but like they didn't even they barely mentioned the Doctor again. I guess we just assume he got his brain fried, and that's
Yeah,
like
again, side questing,
yeah.
tying up
and that's like
loose
the end
ends.
of him. Yeah, so like I found that episode really interesting, but it just felt like it opened more doors than it like intended to actually like close. I guess.
Yeah.
I actually I won't lie, I actually really enjoyed the episode because
Yeah.
I thought it was a good
Mhm.
lore dump for
Oh, yeah,
what
absolutely.
happened to the Imperials after the Civil War. Because
Yeah, I really
that-
like that too. Yeah,
because honestly, like we haven't, other than Legends, we haven't gotten a ton of lore of what happened to like
yeah,
regular people in the Empire. And it was just really cool to see exactly how the New Republic was integrating them, but also trying to destroy all the good stuff that the Empire did have. So
yeah,
it's
that's a
like,
good point. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought that was a good lore dump.
Yeah, I liked it for all the lore dumping and like all that kind of stuff was really cool and kind of expanding the universe. I really liked. I kind of expected it to go more with like I don't know. It just kind of like ended. I felt like it was a little nebulous too. I like you didn't really know why exactly she fried his brain. I guess because he's like knew about like the whole cloning. He was like
Yeah.
their main cloning guy, but I felt like that was a little bit left a little bit too much to,
Yeah,
speculation.
I feel like that part also showed that the New Republic wasn't that much above the Empire in
Yeah, that's
terms
a
of
good,
what
yeah,
they did to people.
that's
Because
true.
like
Yeah,
that was a classic thing the Empire did, wiping people's minds. We saw that with
Yeah.
Crosshair, and the Bad Batch,
yeah,
and like it's just like it just shows that although the New Republic are the good guys, they're not above doing stuff that the Empire did.
right. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, was like I think the Mandalorian was kind of in that episode, but barely. Like,
Yeah,
what
I
did they
think it
even
was
do
like
that
it was
episode?
almost an hour long. I think 40 minutes of it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because at the very end, Bo-Katan, he brings Bo-Katan back to his covert.
Yes.
And they're like, "Well, you're one of us now." Oh yeah, and
Oh,
and that was kind of the development for them in that.
Oh, they fought
episode.
the fucking alligator guy, the sea monster.
Are you talking about
thought
like
was
that
cool.
pterodactyl thing?
Oh, I got him mixed up then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
episode
yeah.
4. That's
What the
episode 4.
frick, Bryce? Damn,
I'm sorry.
you're ruining the whole flow.
I'm
God.
sorry.
Well, speaking of episode 4, let's get to episode
There
4.
he is.
Yeah. So I think my favorite part of this episode was easily finally seeing like who rescued Grogu and how he got the hell
Yeah.
out of the
It
temple.
was Jar Jar
Also,
Binks.
it was Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, everyone thought he was a Sith. He was actually a Jedi. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool, and actually, in seeing another angle of Order 66 and the storming of the Jedi Temple.
I won't lie, when they did another Order 66 scene, I was kind of just like, all right. It's honestly, I feel like at this point it's getting old. Dave Filoni, everything
That's
he
fair.
works on is like has to be Order 66, and he directed
That's
him and
fair.
Jon Favreau directed this episode.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
like,
Okay.
I'm not shocked that he did it, but like it's just like Dave Filoni really tries to hammer home Order 66.
Yeah.
And like they've been trying to, I feel like also in Kenobi, Filoni didn't really work on
Yeah.
that, but in Kenobi too, they also tried to hammer that home, and it was just
Yeah.
like, we get it, I guess. It was just
Yeah.
like, but I do get why they showed it, to show how Grogu escaped.
Right. Yeah, they kind of had to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't anybody we knew necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, because some people were like, "Oh, it was Mace Windu." Like, how the fuck? No, So I'm kind of glad it was just a random Jedi, and I'm kind of like he was kind of badass, honestly. The way he took on all those clones and just like switched from switch styles from like a one lightsaber to using two and stuff. That was pretty cool. I kind of like now I kind of want to see how it went from like him having Grogu to Grogu being like a bounty. I'm kind of interested like how the hell that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, his name was Kalaran Beck in this. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see Ahmed Best
Get his redemption arc.
Yeah, because like he got so much shit for Jar Jar, which like even if you don't like Jar Jar, like holy hell, people come to.
I also thought it was cool that we did get to see the Naboo guards on the platform when they picked up
that was
Grogu.
Interesting. That was surprising.
That that didn't shock me because I know out of all the factions, like part of the Star Wars universe, the most sympathetic towards the Jedi is probably Naboo.
True, that is true.
Because I mean, in Episode 1, the whole reason Naboo still is not under Federation control is because of the Jedi. So
yeah, and he said something like he was gonna take Grogu to a friend. So like, do you think he's from Naboo, that Jedi?
Possibility.
Yeah, because like, and I even noticed his robes were a little more ornate than your average Jedi, and the Naboo seemed to have like a lot of fancy clothes is kind of their thing.
Yeah,
so kind of wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, what thoughts did you have on this episode, Bryce? Awesome. All right,
pretty good.
All right, moving on now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I as I've always said, I enjoy watching any of it.
Yeah.
The flashback is probably the highlight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then we actually had that pterodactyl thing, which was kind of cool because I feel like it gave Pad Vizsla more development too. Like he has a son, and it kind of because he like since. I mean, not at first, but he and Din Djarin have seemed to kind of have like a strained relationship since, he challenged him for the Darksaber.
Yes.
And I thought it was kind of cool that that seems to be mended a lot because, Din and Bo saved Pad Vizsla's sons, so now he kind of like owes them, Yep.
Oh,
and yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, but by the way, this episode was directed by Carl Weathers, who.
Oh yeah, sorry, I meant written by Filoni.
Oh, gotcha. Who is
everyone Filoni?
Which he plays Grief Karga.
Yeah.
In this series, so it's interesting.
It is cool sometimes to see the actors work on the show that they're in.
Right, and plus, holy hell, what the hell is that? I think we got some interference on your end, bro.
TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Someone's mowing outside.
Oh, what an
I'll stay muted until they're gone.
Doesn't he know we're trying to record a podcast? Jeez.
Apparently not.
All right. Consider it. Yeah, there he is.
Exactly. So episode 5. Yeah. So I think this was one of the only real cameos in this show was what the hell is his name? Zeb. Yeah. So
Aurelios.
Yeah. So yeah, when he showed up, I'm like, how do I know that face? I was like, oh yeah, he's in Rebels, right? But then at first I thought maybe it was just a guy from the same race.
Yeah.
But then he talked, and it was so obviously Steve Bloom who did the voice of him in Rebels.
I honestly, I recognize Steve Bloom in everything that he's in. I did not recognize the voice at first. Really? Honestly, I won't lie.
Well, yeah, I mean, it took a few lines for me to be like, it sounds like the same guy, but I couldn't remember that he put on a British accent kind of in the
show. That is also true.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought this episode was. I'm trying to remember what even happened in this episode. To be honest,
I thought the whole chasing down the that was pterodactyl type was kind of cool. The scenes with them camping out were pretty cool. Climbing
last episode, Bryce.
Do we move on?
Yeah. Fuck.
Sorry.
God damn.
Lord distracted me.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. No, I mean, if you want to talk more about episode 4.
Oh no, continue.
All right, split 6. So yeah, episode 5. Yeah, so we got to see more of kind of the inner workings of the New Republic, which was pretty interesting, and we got to see the return of this guy who just keeps popping up in this minor role, Captain Carson Teva. Which he just keeps showing up, but he actually got something to actually do this episode, which was kind of cool. And I did like the whole, like, I just kind of like the classic. It is kind of like a classic Hollywood in this thing where you have, like, you know, a town that's being raided by whatever insert bad guy, and then you have champions come in and help them. I'm kind of a sucker for that storyline, so I did really enjoy that. You know, the pirates attacking Navarro, and then all the Mandalorians show up. Which, speaking of all the Mandalorians, I loved probably my favorite part of the season is how many freaking Mandalorians were in this season. Like, I think the closest we got to was like the first half of season 1, you know, with Din Djarin's covert. But since then, we haven't really seen that many Mandalorians in one place. Now we have like this whole huge covert. I really liked seeing, like, it felt very Mandalorian centric this season, which I did appreciate.
Agree.
But yeah, and it was kind of interesting seeing that one guy, Captain Tega or whatever, Teva, going and kind of, he's like, well, I can't really, you know, I can't really get any Republic support, but, you know, your friend's in trouble, so have fun. But then he just kind of like went away. I kind of expected him to show up and like help, but I guess he wasn't going to go in if he was going to be by himself, which, I mean, fair enough. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so we saw the return of the pirates, and they just kind of got their asses whooped. No,
their ship was cool.
Yeah, the ship was pretty cool.
I do agree.
The big ship, but
freighter.
And we got to see some pretty cool dogfight action in this episode, which was fun. And I did really like the idea that Grief Karga gave them some property on Navarro to kind of like have their covert be there, you know, instead of like hiding out all the time. That was actually kind of cool.
Yes.
What a good guy.
And also the armorer actually had Bo-Katan take off her helmet. That was interesting. I was not expecting that, but I kind of liked her, you know, perspective. She was like, it's better, you know, that all of us stick together instead of us, you know, being divided by stupid rules, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
I also, because the armorer's got to know who Bo-Katan is, but Bo-Katan doesn't actually know who. They must have known each other, but Bo-Katan probably doesn't remember. You know.
Well, I mean, I guess that's possible, but it seemed like the armorer, you know, she's from this really kind of out there sect of.
Well, she said she's been to the mines.
That's true. That's true.
She's.
I mean, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
and
I don't know if she worked them or tended them or whatever, but I remember her mentioning that.
Well, she might.
She'd been there.
Yeah, she mentioned the Great Forge, so like she must have been an armorer on Mandalore before the Great Purge or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, and it's the whole thing where like Bo's gonna reunite all of the Mandalorians was kind of a cool setup.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then we get into episode 6, which had everybody's favorite cameo from Lizzo. No,
and Jack Black.
No, I was kidding about
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, there's my boy.
Hey, there he is.
This episode, in my opinion, was probably the strongest, except for maybe the last episode.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people shitting on this episode because of like Lizzo and
Jack
her,
Black, yeah,
and her playing that game with Grogu and him like helping her out. It's like, okay, but like the rest of the episode was like an episode of Law and Order. It was really interesting.
It was really cool. It was also really cool to see how separatist droids were still used long after the war.
Yeah, I loved seeing the separatist droids again, and yeah, what you said, them being used as kind of like, you know,
also
servants and stuff.
Also, we finally have the switch in voice actors in live action for the battle droids. If you watch like episode 1, 2, if you watch episode 1 or 2 or 3, their voices are not the same at all.
No,
but now we have the Clone Wars voice actor playing the battle droid, which just fits better because that's what we see with battle droids.
Yeah, well, yeah, like the Clone Wars is like
Yeah.
way longer than we
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
We see the
Mhm.
droids so much
Yeah.
in that series. So yeah, that was cool. And I forget where. Oh yeah, right. It was the Christopher Lloyd character who
Yes.
put that like code into the droids to have them rebel and everything, which I thought was all really cool. It was that chase scene was it was funny to see a super battle droid running,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
running away. Like that was pretty cool. And
Running,
even
jumping over stuff.
right, exactly. And Christopher Lloyd being in it, like his like even though his character was barely in it, it was interesting. You know that all that stuff. And yeah, I think that was one of the strongest written episodes. Despite the Lizzo cameo, which like wasn't that bad. Like if
I
it
feel
wasn't
like-
Lizzo, you know, nobody would have cared.
Yeah. I feel like any episode that Bryce Dallas Howard does is always just really good.
Oh yeah, she did do that one, didn't she?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's a very good director.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
I liked seeing the versatility of the B2 battle droids
Mhm.
because like if you watch the Clone Wars or the movies, you see that they just walk like this. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah,
and like
right,
that's it. And like we never really see them do anything.
No.
But like this, like it just went to show like how advanced they really were and how
Yeah.
like much like they could actually move and like how versatile they really were.
Yeah, which we see a little bit in like the Clone Wars, I think.
Yeah.
Like much more than the movies, I think.
Yeah. But not to like the extent of like this man was sprinting and jumping and like
right.
doing
He was
crazy
like
stuff.
he was like doing parkour and stuff. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
I
pretty
enjoyed it.
crazy. Yeah, and the end was pretty cool too. We finally got to have Bo-Katan like beat the shit out of Axe Woves and be like, you know, like I'm the leader finally, you know, and they're like, yeah, but she doesn't have the dark saber. And that was actually interesting because I saw some like fan theories or some like almost like jokes online when she got the dark saber when she saved the Din Djarin. People were saying like, well, she defeated the thing that defeated Din Djarin, so technically she should have the dark saber. And it just seemed like this fan thing, but then they're like, no, that's actually correct. You know,
Yeah.
she
I wish they
is
wouldn't have waited.
Yeah, I feel like
I didn't think that was a good time to do it.
right.
Like,
feel
by the way, right after
Right,
you beat him, she technically wins it.
right, he could have done it like right after she saved him. You know, he's like, well, this is technically yours now, but
Yeah, I feel like it would have carried more weight.
Honestly, I wasn't a fan of Bo-Katan getting the darksaber back, although she's the rightful ruler of Mandalore by blood.
Yeah.
Like she has lost the darksaber so many times.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous, honestly. So like when Din Djarin got it,
I mean,
I was
technically,
really-
it's only been once. It's just they've just dragged it out because
Yeah,
Sabine
true.
gave it to her, and then Moff Gideon took it from her.
Yeah.
But it's been dragged out so much; it feels like so many more times.
Yeah.
You know?
Like it's just she's had it so much. It's just like
Yeah.
I feel like Din Djarin, like as the main character, like and like his build up and everything as a character, he should have been like the one to bring them together instead of Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I feel like he's not like the leader of Mandalore type, though. Like, he's very much more like, you know, just more of a lone bounty hunter type person. Even though he is with the covert, it's like for him, he like has team ups, but it's mostly just him and Grogu.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like Bo is the better like leader. I feel like she fits the role better, and she's kind of like prepared for it, like most of her life too. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if they had Din Djarin actually be able to use the darksaber better, I feel like it would have been, you know, I feel like it would have made more sense for him to keep it. But considering like he never really like, which I feel like they could have had an arc where he learned how to use it, you know, but they never did that. So at that point, we never really got to see him use it at its full capacity anyway.
That's true.
But it kind of would have been cool if they did. But considering how much weight they put on the freaking darksaber, and they're all like, "Well, whoever has the darksaber is the leader."
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but which is kind of weird because they didn't accept Din Djarin as their leader because I guess because he's an outsider, kind of. You know, he's part of like the weird like mega rule oriented sect. You know.
I feel like
don't
it was
know.
a good compliment, though. I feel like it would have been nice to carry out having him carry the darksaber for a little while Bo-Katan already has like the respect aspect and has like the blood aspect. I feel like it would have been nice to kind of like carry it out a little longer, like just been like a partnership
Yeah.
and still like a still coming together to join forces type thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it did feel like considering how long they kind of dragged this whole thing out, I feel like it was resolved pretty quick. It was just kind of like you're like, oh well, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. Like, oh, but you still don't have the dark saber. Yes, you do. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Considering how much like since they've been doing it since like the third episode of like season 2, this has
Right.
been an issue, and they it keeps I felt like that was a little bit resolving a little bit too quickly, but at the same time I kind of am glad it's over because it was getting a little annoying. Just like like, oh, Bo-Katan's the rightful leader, but she doesn't have the dark saber, so screw her.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of kept doing
Technical
that.
knockout.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we're on episode 7.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, where we finally get to see the 2
Where's Skinny Pete?
Mandalorian.
You gotta show Skinny Pete.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was really funny.
I did not expect that.
I was not expecting him either.
Well, he's like the 3rd character now to be from Breaking Bad to be in the Mandalorian. Is it the 3rd?
You got Giancarlo.
Yeah, I feel like there's another
Burr.
one.
Skinny Pete.
Bill Burr, right? Yeah, that's
Bill
who
Burr.
that's who I was thinking of. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Star Wars Breaking Bad.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is.
Skinny Pete.
Skinny
Man.
Pete.
Yeah.
The Methalorian. Yeah. So yeah, so that was cool. I did not expect that. And that was episode. Which episode was that?
That was episode 7.
Oh, it was. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we finally get to see them come together, and there is some tension, but it's cool to see the 2 sects of the Mandalorians like kind of coming together and joining as one giant like covert, basically. And they actually got to go back to Mandalore. And I was not expecting there to be like survivors there, but that was kind of cool that there were, and they were able to show them like through the mines and everything. And then Moff
also cool.
Yeah. They're little like
solar sail type land rider thing.
It reminded me a little bit of Jabba's barge, just like a really small version, but just like the same concept of having like a sail barge, like speeder type thing.
Yep, and then the encounter with that large creature. They kind of threw it astray and destroyed it immediately.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So that and we also got to see more Moff Gideon, and he was like hanging out, and talking to all those other Imperial guys.
Also got to see IG-12.
Yeah, and Grogu used him as like a suit.
Yep.
That was actually kind of cool though.
That
to
was
actually
kind of cool.
See Grogu like be able to like move on his own besides just like floating around.
No.
yeah, and that too, like him kind of being able to talk in a way, even though he only say yes and no.
You can tell he like completely understands like the people around.
Yeah,
right.
which we kind of already suspected, but just like that being confirmed was cool. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like the Empire is a little bit more like the remnants of the Empire are a little more organized than I previously thought. Like I kind of just thought it was like a few like scattered, and like Moff Gideon was one of the like scattered. But they have like a whole like Zoom call going on with like all the leaders, and even like I guess it was like General Hux's dad or something.
Yeah.
Which fun fact, they're actually brothers, the 2 actors. The guy who plays his dad and what's his Brian Gleason and Donald Gleason is the guy who plays Hux in the sequels. So I mean,
that was a cool. Honestly, I won't lie. That was a cool little like drop. I was just like, oh hey, that's right. I was like, that's cool. The sequels might not be great, but I mean, it was just like a little nod to him, and I was like, that's cool.
Right, and it kind of leads into this becoming the First Order.
Yes,
which I feel like is going to be a big thing, like a big focus of the crossover movie they're going to do. I feel like is going to be them fighting the Empire, but I feel like it's going to be shown that like this is going to turn into the First Order in like 20 some years.
I feel like because we watched the Beskar troopers.
Yeah,
the Beskar stormtroopers come in, but they their design looked more like First Order stormtroopers, especially the helmet.
That is true. Yeah,
and like also with the Praetorian guards at the end of the episode.
Yeah, they looked a lot like Snoke's.
They looked at also, if you look at the back of their armor, it has
Mhm.
like that circle and then like the two, which is like the exact same on First Order armor and the exact same on the regular Praetorian Guards armor,
Right.
which was cool because it's just like it really does show how the First Order was starting
Yeah.
basically like right after the events of Return of the Jedi.
Right. Yeah. I think that's and it kind of like builds a bridge between, or at least starts to, but
Yeah.
between like the Empire and the First Order.
Yes.
Because I
Yep.
felt like when the sequels came out, it just kind of be like, oh, by the way, there's this First Order. Like
Right.
it was obvious they came from the Empire, but there didn't really seem to be much of a segue because it was
Yeah.
a 30-year time jump.
Yeah.
Plus they didn't plan those sequels.
They
Definitely
also-
like an endorment type thing for the entirety of the gap, right?
Right, but
Yeah.
they weren't. Yeah, that they were doing a lot of mess up
Yeah.
stuff. No.
We also what's his I lost train of thought. Sorry,
yeah.
Thrawn.
Oh yeah, Thrawn.
They mentioned Thrawn by name, which isn't the
Yeah,
first time they've
that
done it.
was
They did it.
interesting, yeah.
They did it in season 2 as well. Ahsoka's like, "Where's Thrawn?"
Mhm.
So
right, but
it's-
we didn't know if he was like still like we didn't know if he was technically like he wasn't mentioned by the actual like Imperial remnants. It was Ahsoka.
Yes.
So
yeah.
it wasn't clear if he's still connected to the Empire at this point or
Yeah, I'm honestly not shocked that he still is because they're obviously
Yeah.
doing the Heir to the Empire story.
Yeah.
So
At least
I mean,
a loose adaptation.
a loose part of it. I mean, like they even drop it in the Ahsoka trailer. It's just like,
Yeah.
he's the Heir to the Empire or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's
Um,
true. Yeah.
So, like, I think it was cool to mention Thrawn. I think
Mhm.
it would have had more of a payoff though if we actually finally got to see Thrawn.
That would have been a perfect end credit scene, and it would have gone into the Ahsoka show.
Exactly.
Really
it would have
yeah.
really just like bridged those two together and be
Yeah.
like, this is what's happening next. But
Yeah.
I think them mentioning Thrawn was pretty cool, but it also shows that how they're adapting Legends.
Yeah.
Because Thrawn in Legends was basically the only person to bring the Empire back to the state it was almost.
Right.
And
okay.
he really organized it and pulled it all together. So like I'm really excited to see where that goes with him
Mhm.
and like the Ahsoka show because he's easily the strongest general within the Imperial ranks.
Yeah. I feel like they're not going to defeat him in this Ahsoka show, and he's going to be like a carryover, like big bad for the movie. I'm thinking.
Yeah, that would honestly make a lot of sense. Thrawn's too honestly, Thrawn is too big of a character, despite his lack of appearances.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a very integral part to what happens after the Empire.
Right.
So I can't see them killing him off, especially
No.
especially like if they're bringing him into live action for the first time, they're gonna want to bank on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which I think is cool. They're using the same voice actor.
Yes,
Lars Mikkelsen. I like that they're doing that a lot, bringing the voice actors from the animation.
That's
the
actually
actual
one of the problems I
action.
have with the casting of Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
Is Ashley Eckstein could do a perfectly fine job as live action Ahsoka.
Mhm.
I also feel like she looks more like Ahsoka.
I think,
but she's short. That's the thing. But like, isn't Ahsoka short?
So is Ahsoka, but
Yeah,
like she hasn't
exactly.
really done a whole lot of live action.
Yeah, and I guess Katie
She's-
Sackhoff has, and
Katie Sackhoff definitely has, and
Yeah.
so has Lars Mikkelsen. So I
so-
feel like the ones that have already crossed over between live action animation is the ones they're casting because nobody else from Rebels got cast.
yeah, true.
I
Well, except
mean-
for Zeb.
Yeah, which I mean, but he's
I mean,
still a voice
CGI.
actor.
Yeah, he's CGI.
Yeah.
So.
And that makes more sense too because none of them actually look like their characters in real life. Really.
Yeah. I
Um,
honestly, I don't mind Rosario Dawson, but it's kind of weird having her in the role sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely feels weird. I feel like the only reason it kind of works is because it's been so long. It's been so many years, I guess. But even then, it doesn't work because she's in Rebels.
Yeah.
And it's still Ashley Eckstein. So
Yeah.
it is definitely a little weird sometimes, but not too weird, I guess. I feel like we got sidetracked.
Yeah.
To sidetrack further.
Oh, sick. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's do it.
I'm actually just not sure. So I'm assuming the Dave Filoni movie is a ways out, right? So it's going to be probably another season of this, a season or two of Ahsoka, and then
My guess would be like 2026, 27.
Yeah, they
Okay.
haven't confirmed the dates yet, but they have confirmed a season 4 of Mandalorian.
okay.
And Ahsoka, I'm assuming, is probably going to be a limited series.
I'm hoping that's a one-off.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm
it works
hoping
best
that.
as a one-off. I don't think it would work too well to
Like
keep
Book of
it
Boba
going.
Fett.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
My guess, honestly, latest, I would say probably 2028.
Yeah,
Got
I'm
you.
The
thinking.
latest.
Well, but especially considering you're supposed to put a cap on all of these like post Return of the Jedi Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
I feel like they aren't. Considering their popularity, I don't think they're going to rush to like end that whole
Yeah.
story. Which I'm kind of surprised they are. I kind of expect them to go on for eternity and like just kind of decline. After
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
Season 18 of The Mandalorian. He's just like an old cripple, and Grogu is like trans or something. I don't know. But yeah. But yeah,
Paz
Vizsla.
wow,
Yeah,
we were just about to say
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Paz Vizsla's death
Mind meld,
was that
Unneeded.
scene was badass. Though.
that was
That was
took,
really cool.
like he took on all of the
Stormtroopers
troopers or whatever, and then
the Praetorian guards.
Like
I love that his gun overheated and he starts just beating them.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was awesome. That was awesome. He was like, I was
Yeah.
overheated. Time to
Sumo
use this my
wrestler.
fist. Yeah, he
Yeah.
beat and I felt like, I don't know. I felt like it was a sacrifice. Like it wasn't just a random Mandalorian. That would have felt like, okay, who cares? But he wasn't important enough that it felt like it. I mean, they definitely could have taken a risk and like killed like Bo-Katan or something. But but I
feel
see
like
them doing that.
I can't. Because Bo-Katan needs a more fitting end. I feel like getting killed
Yes.
by Praetorian guards is
In
not a
Din
fitting
Djarin
end.
too. Like I was for a split second, I was scared they were gonna kill him up, and like how are they gonna have the Mandalorian show?
Yeah.
But yeah, which I kind of I haven't mentioned this yet, but this is the only season we have not seen Pedro Pascal's beautiful face.
Yeah, it's because he hasn't done any of the mocap or not mocap. Sorry, the
been in the suit.
Yeah, been in the suit. Like
Yeah.
it's been
Voice work.
all voice work, and also it's typically John Wayne's grandson that's under there.
Oh, okay.
So that's
interesting.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that makes okay. But yeah, that definitely makes sense. At least like the other seasons, he was barely in it, but he was definitely there for at least a couple, scenes. Like in season 2, we actually saw his face twice.
Yeah.
This one, he was probably working on The Last of Us when they were filming this.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
So, but he had time to do, the voice work, because especially nowadays, people have discovered, oh, you don't actually have to come to the booth to record. You can just do it in your home, So I feel like that's become a big thing now for voice actors. Voice
like
work.
you said, The Last of Us, he's doing that at the time. My guess is because as Joel, he needed the beard and everything, and like the
That's true,
more
too.
gray hair. So my guess was he couldn't really change that in between.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially since they're filming the second season of The Last of Us as well.
Yeah, I feel he's got a pretty full plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still have one episode to go, episode 8. I thought the action was dope as hell in this. Like I liked the whole like sky battle between the Mandalorians and the Beskar troopers. I felt maybe the Moff Gideon fight was a little lacking. For some reason, it just sort of like, I don't know. Like for some reason, even though it lasted longer, I kind of thought the fight at the end of season 2 was a little cooler, But like when he had the Darksaber and Din Djarin had the spear. But what did you guys think?
I really liked his
armor's dope. Yeah.
His armor did also have the horns of Darth Maul's Death Watch.
Yeah,
which was really cool.
That
and
was
I was
a
just
cool
like
detail.
that's an interesting nod because that means he has some sort of knowledge on Darth Maul and Death Watch.
Yes,
which is really cool. And the new incarnation of the Dark Trooper was really awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
I was already talking about his armor, but like that was just that was really cool. It also showed how much it could increase your abilities as a fighter.
Yeah, that was interesting too.
That was interesting. And we also
enhanced strength.
Yeah, enhanced strength and speed and stuff. And
lightsaber resistance as well, right?
That just comes with
Beskar.
Beskar though.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think Moff Gideon's dead.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too, which like
Mhm.
I don't see how he survived, but that's how it goes with all these things. Like if you don't see the body, hell, even if you do see the body, you know.
Yeah, well, thing is he's wearing the Dark Trooper armor,
Yeah.
and I mean that's Beskar, and like even though he was engulfed in flames, I can't see how it would have killed him that fast, especially when he's wearing that protective armor.
I feel like if he comes back though, like he did have his helmet off, so he could just have a really
that is true.
He could just have Anakin face if he comes back or something.
I heard a theory going around about him not having a mustache in that scene.
Yeah, he didn't have a mustache, and the clones didn't have a mustache, so that must mean he's a clone. I can see that.
He didn't have one this whole season because this was him in like that Zoom call, and he didn't have it.
Yeah,
okay. I wasn't sure the validity of that theory.
I think they probably just had him shave it off in prison, and he just didn't grow it back. I think is probably the idea.
Honestly, I can see I can understand the theory, but I think people might just be thinking too much into it, and I think he probably just shaved.
I think it is interesting that they have spent all this time on clones and then they destroyed them pretty easy. And honestly, I kind of thought that they were leading up to like they wanted to use cloning to like bring back Palpatine.
Yeah.
But instead, it was just Gideon's like, nah, I just want an army of me, but me with force powers. Yeah, which I thought like. I don't know. I'm kind of glad it was more contained and it wasn't just like an excuse to, you know, have Palpatine be back later. Though, like we do know what's cloning, so it's not a big deal. But I feel like that makes a little more sense. But at the same time, it felt a little bit anticlimactic considering how much they have been leading up to the clones. And, you know, like the whole cloning, like that's the whole reason they needed Grogu is to combine like his genetics.
My thing is like, why have Pershing killed if
he wasn't killed. He wasn't killed. He was just mind wiped. He had his memories.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Ripped. Right. Okay. So he's no longer needed or no longer useful for the cloning process. Yeah. So has he learned enough from Pershing that he doesn't need him no more? Is that the thing, or was it like a necessary thing?
I think Pershing's involvement was to get Elia Kane to like just get the bare necessities that they needed for it. Because he was the only person that knew exactly what they needed for cloning.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, and that was kind of the whole purpose of her tricking him and him getting the.
Right. Okay.
And then I'm sure they didn't want him helping the New Republic at all, so that they just kind of wanted to tie up loose ends with him and wipe his brain. So I guess that all makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
What did you think of the Darksaber getting destroyed?
Not a fan. No, it's too big. It has too much of an impact on Mandalorian lore that it's just like I was shocked. Yeah, it pissed me off too because like it's such like a infamous weapon and it's such a special weapon because there was only one Mandalorian who was a Jedi.
Yeah.
And like that's where it came from and that's why it's special. And then so when Moff Gideon's just like done, it's just like
it was kind of a spit in the face.
I mean, it was kind of a like, you know, power move on Gideon's part. You know? But and I wasn't even thinking of the lore. I'm just thinking like, but it's so cool. How can you destroy? You know?
Yeah.
Right.
But then again, they could fix it. I feel like because it just kind of got like bent.
But we don't know. Like, I mean, is it possible that Gideon could have destroyed the crystal inside as well, though?
Yeah, that I mean, it seemed like it was just like the top that got bent. But
maybe they're gonna go with a Kylo thing and have it like a cracked crystal thing.
Cool.
You know, maybe they're gonna change the style of it.
Cool. And like it's already a very unique blade. It'd be interesting to see what it's like if it is cracked and it's like now it's all like on the fritz and stuff.
Yeah, on the fritz.
They also brought back IG-11 at the end of this episode.
Yeah, that was
now he's the marshal. Gina Carano.
I actually
with a robot.
Right. I mean, I do kind of like it though, because like when we did see him fight, he was freaking insane. So I feel like he does kind of work as the marshal. you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely. I
Like-
definitely agree. I
Yeah.
think going back to episode 1, I forgot to mention this earlier, but like when they reboot him and like he
Mhm.
immediately starts to go after Grogu, that was a really
Yeah.
cool scene to me because like
that was. Yeah.
it was kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it wasn't be like oh, but like it was just like creepy. It was just
startling,
like,
like, oh my
yeah,
God,
I
yeah.
was just like he was like a zombie.
Mhm.
That was really cool. So when they brought him back
Mhm.
and he's also got the martial colors
Yeah.
and everything, and I thought that was really cool. But
Yeah.
the one thing that did upset me was there's like a throwaway line
Mm.
in episode 1 about where Gina Carano went.
Oh yeah,
And
I know.
it's just like no one ever explained it.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
what
yeah,
did
she's off doing stuff.
What did they even say? They
I
were like,
forget,
oh well, like the New Republic recalled her to go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
or something
special
like that.
mission or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was stupid.
They sent her to the Daily Wire. She's hanging out there now.
The Space Daily Wire.
Yeah, but I gotta say, like all that to say, I really liked the actual ending of this episode,
Yeah.
where Din Djarin and Grogu have their own little like house on
He
Navarro.
also finally adopts him as well.
Right, and that
Yep.
too, that was very cool. Now he's Din Grogu.
I don't know, man. I don't know how I felt about that either, because the armor was like kind of like he can't be well, what they say, an apprentice.
Yeah,
yet,
apprentice.
because he couldn't be an apprentice yet because he couldn't speak the creed. And then he's
Mhm.
like, well, I guess I'll just adopt him, and then I'll be his
And
father,
then
so
everyone's
I
like,
can say
"Oh, yeah,
something."
that's
Yeah,
right. They're like, oh
in
well,
the span of like a minute, and you're like, oh,
why didn't you just say?
it
That
feels very
that's
much
fair.
like the Darksaber being given to Bo-Katan thing.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, we need to clear this up. So
Yeah.
we need some resolution with it."
I
Yeah,
mean,
'cause it just
yeah.
didn't make sense because like she's just like, "Nah, he can't be your apprentice. He's not your son." He's just like, "He's my son now," and then he's
And
just
they're
like,
like,
"Oh,
"Oh, okay."
well,
I
what
mean,
am I gonna do
in
about
that
that?"
case.
I am glad he had officially adopted him because I kind of felt like he already did kind of adopt him in a way, like already. But
Yeah, I
just
feel
not
like they didn't really
officially.
need to like say
Officially,
it though.
no, it's true. It's true. They really didn't. So that that definitely felt a little bit like
After he left Luke, I felt like it was just like done and over with. You know, I thought
Yeah,
it was just like,
right.
yeah, okay,
Because
they're
Grogu
buds
made
now.
his choice.
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
I
I
felt
felt
like
like it didn't need to be explained.
no, probably not. But
But didn't they say that the armor gave him the goal of finding Grogu's people? Isn't that?
Yes, yeah, but that was just the Jedi.
yeah, that was a while ago. That was
Yeah.
like season. Yeah, well,
So
and-
at the end of this episode, didn't she say, "Go on, have many journeys"?
Yeah, but not to find his people, just to like it was
just so like
kind of like training him in the field. I think is the idea. Like,
yeah, just
okay.
like actually him being the apprentice.
which I feel like sets it to season 4, where they're back to doing like
It's just
bounty hunter type
Grogu and
stuff.
Mandalorian
Right.
buddy
Yeah.
cop show.
Yeah, right. Which I mean,
Right.
I'm all for. I mean, I kind of wish this season that might have had a little more of that, but
Which ties with the going back to the Rebel base, or not the Rebel base, the Republic base, and
Mhm.
collecting the IG head.
oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually cool, and it seems
was
like he's
cool.
going to be working more with the New Republic so. I
Carson
think,
Teva, really.
yeah, and
Gonna be off the books.
I think he's going to be hunting down some Imperials, which I think is going to lead more into the big crossover movie.
I can
Um,
see him honestly showing up in Ahsoka in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form because, like, I feel
Me
like
too.
with what he's doing now for Carson Teva or just like the New Republic,
Yeah.
like Carson's gonna get like some sort of wind about Thrawn, and then
Mhm.
he's gonna be like, "Hey, go check this out," and then he's just gonna meet up with Ahsoka in some way.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening too. And yeah, we didn't mention this, but the armorer actually made some armor for Grogu, so now he just
Yes.
has like a breastplate, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. I guess like shoulder armor or something at some point. It's kind of hard to tell because he's so tiny and he's not going to get that much bigger. So
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
a
really
baby.
sure. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Like it's gonna be interesting if maybe at some point he just decked out in like all like Mandalorian armor.
Cool.
Yeah, don't worry, you'll
Yeah.
grow into it 100
Right.
years later.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be like he's gonna be 500 years old. It finally fits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and well, also last thing I have to say about this episode is we didn't. There's no mythosaur anything except for a very brief mention
Very
where it's
brief.
just like,
I think
well,
we
you
got
know the mythosaur's alive, and
I
like that's it.
think we got another brief glimpse because like it
Yeah, I
went
got a
like
glimpse.
down into the pool again, but yeah, and then that's it.
Yeah,
So,
how
and,
big is that thing? That's what I
it
want to
looks
know.
big as hell.
Yeah.
So like it's just chilling down. Like, what if it decides to just peek its head out and destroy like
Yeah.
all the mines basically?
And I mean, if we're
cause a
going
cave-in.
off like what the sign said, it was like tamed by Mandalore himself. So like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I kind of wish they had done more with the mythosaur instead of just like being like, oh, it exists.
A cool arc would have been that
Anyway,
they could have done more episodes where Bo-Katan, like, I guess, takes it as like to make her more solidified as the ruler of Mandalore. She repeats the same thing that the original ruler did of taming the mythosaur.
bro,
Yeah.
imagine if she just showed up at the end like writing that thing. You know, it's like that would have been kind of sick, honestly.
That would have
but,
been
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, any last thoughts on this series? I mean, this season.
Overall, I'd say it might be the weakest
Yeah,
out of all of them.
I definitely agree, but it's still good. No.
It's still good. It's
Yeah.
still good. It's just like you can see that they're doing so much Star Wars at this point that it's kind of decreasing in quality.
Yeah, I can definitely
It's getting like the Marvel treatment.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, no, you're good.
What do you guys think about the future? Like the next thing is the Ahsoka show. What are your like thoughts, like hype level? Like, are you excited? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm very excited because I'm very excited to see Thrawn. I love Ahsoka too. I think she's a great character, so I'd like to see how she builds like more of her arc, I guess.
I mean, we haven't seen that much
Ezra.
of her so far. Like she's mostly just had glorified cameos. We haven't really seen like, much development with her.
Yeah, I meant more in like Rebels and like the Clone Wars and stuff. That's where we got a lot of our development. But I think I'm really excited for it. I'm also really curious about those dark side users.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if anyone here watches Star Wars Theory, but he broke down the trailer and this man said, what if this is like an alternate timeline that Ahsoka's envisioning, and that guy with the beard is actually Anakin if he didn't become Darth Vader? And I was like,
that's pretty out there.
It's very out there. It's a horrible theory.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, I'm really curious to see what they are, because their lightsabers were 1, orange, and 2, they were using the dark side of the Force, but they weren't Sith.
Yeah, from what I hear, they survived Order 66 and kind of like renounced the Jedi, but they're not Sith. So they're just like dark Jedi is the idea. Yeah, so I think that's the idea. But from what I hear, I've been hearing like these rumors that at one point Ahsoka goes to like, you know, that planet where like the embodiments of like the Force were in the Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah.
From what I hear, she goes. I think that's where she goes.
If they bring that back, that will be
that would be sick. And from what I hear, she has like this vision of an alternate future where Anakin does. Like that's one of the big parts that Hayden Christensen is back for. Like there is like an alternate future where like, you know, she hangs out with Anakin.
I don't know if they do the alternate future, but I think that they're probably gonna do Clone Wars flashbacks.
Oh God, if they do that, I will. Oh God, that because I really wanted that. And
Hayden Christensen in his Clone Wars armor would be insane.
So sick.
That'd be insane. Also, if they do like early Clone Wars Anakin and he has the shorter hair, I'd also like to see
would be
that.
Interesting. Yeah,
because like every time we see Hayden, it's always the long hair or like the ponytail.
Or, the buzz cut. Yeah, with the. From what I heard too, there is going to be like a part of that's like a flashback where they have like a younger actress playing Ahsoka.
Actually, I've seen.
Yeah, right. But even though she's like 40, you know.
Yeah, but she looks like a child,
and she has that like really high pitch. Yeah, it could work. Yeah. Definitely excited for that. I think that premieres in August, so not too long. And it's pretty much feels like a sequel to Rebels, which I still have not watched all the way through yet. So I definitely need to get on that. So
honestly, it just like in the trailer, it just looked like a live action version of Rebels. I mean, you had Hera, you had Sabine, Chopper.
Yeah, pretty much everybody's in it.
Yeah. So we'll have to see where that goes. We'll have to see if Zeb's in it as well.
Yeah, right. And like obviously Thrawn and Ezra, which it's kind of gonna pick up where Rebels left off.
Yeah, the whole point of the show is Ahsoka finding Ezra.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. Especially for Rebels fans who have like kind of had that
nothing.
Yeah, had that loose thread for like at least 5 years now, if not more
than that.
Yeah,
almost like when did the show end?
Let me look. Yeah, so started in
2014, right?
Yeah, 24. So it went to 2018. So yeah,
okay, so it's 2018.
It's been about 5 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be nice to finally get a resolution to that, especially since him and Thrawn left together. At the end of Rebels, so that means they have to be in some way, shape, or form together.
Right. So. Maybe they're lovers now. I don't know. We'll see.
How would you prefer Ahsoka's story to go? Because eventually she doesn't play a part later on. So how do you think her stuff's going to be wrapped up?
I wouldn't mind seeing her die.
I think. Yeah, I feel like as long as it's a worthy death. Like I feel like that's not going to happen until the movie.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think wrapping up Ahsoka's arc probably won't be until the movie, most likely. But at the end of the movie, I would like to see some characters die. Because I feel like they've kind of played their part in keeping them alive is kind of just like you're just keeping them alive for the sake of keeping them alive.
Right.
But I'm at the end of Ahsoka, I'm really hoping that she just finally gets like the satisfaction of finally finding Ezra and finally and if they if they kill Thrawn and he's not in the movie, the satisfaction of finally finishing her Rebels arc of finding and killing Thrawn.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Do you think Luke is going to be in the crossover movie?
Most likely.
Yeah,
I can see that. If they're doing,
see that too.
I think they're really going to do Heir to the Empire, and Luke kind of has to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So I can very much see him being part of it, but not like a huge character in it. Like he's not going to be in like the whole thing, but like he'll be in like bits and pieces here and there. Maybe at the beginning, like giving them guidance and stuff. But that's all I can really see.
I feel like it'd be a really hype moment to see him and Ahsoka like teaming up in a cool action sequence.
That would be really cool.
That would be dope. Yeah, that'd be really
like
cool.
The apprentice of his father.
Yeah.
Just like it. Yeah, that would be really cool.
I mean, it was already cool to see them talking about Anakin in the Book of Boba Fett, but to see them actually like in battle together would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Now, are they aware of the connection? Forgive my.
Oh yeah. Okay. They talked about it in Book of Boba Fett. Like she said something like you're a lot like your father, and yada yada. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any final thoughts? Are we good to wrap up?
I'm all good.
I'm all good.
All right. Thanks so much, guys, for being on my podcast.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Be sure to check us out on social media. Casual_experts at pretty much every major social media platform. Zach, what's your social media and all that stuff?
Follow me on Twitter, TTVPGXP. I play professional Call of Duty. That's my thing.
Nice.
So if you like that stuff, check it out. I also tweet about Star Wars and music.
Sick. What do you want to plug, Bryce? Anything?
No, I'm good.
All right, sick. All right, cool. All right.
Thank you for having me on, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Bye.
Peace out.